Back in the 1980s, you had many brand options for great TVs, but very few stood as tall as the famous Mitsubishi. I'm always excited to pick up free CRTs, and I never had the chance to see a high-end Mitsubishi from the 80s until now. This old-timer here is a 26-inch Mitsubishi Diamond Vision II model CS-2657R from the year 1988. I picked this up for free from the same friend that gave me the S40 Trinitron I showcased a few videos ago. It's pretty wide and hefty, so thankfully I got it strapped down to the back of my truck and it arrived at my house without any damage. Once this came out on the market in 1988, it retailed for $800, which would be about $2,200 in today money. I've always known that Sony and Toshiba TVs were really well known during the 80s for the Trinitron and Blackstripe lines, but Mitsubishi just always seemed so mythical to me. I knew that brand for their cars and appliances, but didn't really know much about the high-end televisions they made. I was eager to fire up some of my favorite games and see if this TV lives up to the hype. So after a few games in, I was impressed by the richness of the colors and the overall clarity, considering the CRT is about 37 years old. The tube does show its age, and I do see some standard signs of wear and high hour usage, but the S-video signal handling is one of the best I've ever seen. So for a near 40-year-old shadow mask tube from the greatest decade ever, I was surprised at how good it looked. Let's go ahead and look this old CRT over and just check it out a bit closer. It's definitely more rare than most modern sets, so let's see if it's a keeper or not. This Mitsubishi has a pretty solid build quality for its time. I prefer wood grain styles like my ColorTrack 2000, and sadly this is a full black plastic monitor style, so it's not too exciting to look at. This TV is very similar to the original Sony XBR with its side-mounted speakers. They have a great overall sound, so it does win big in the audio category. I do like the boxiness to the shape going on here, and it did come with the original remote. Luckily, the trap door on the front wasn't broken off, and you can see it has a full set of buttons to do all your controls through. When I got this set, it was absolutely filthy and caked in dust, so it took me a while to clean it up. So this TV wasn't fresh from the start because I learned it hadn't been used in almost 20 years. It was a bit blurry at first, but after about 4 hours of warming up with a game running, the picture started to really come back to life. From behind, you can see the model number and the chassis on the main sticker, but the date sticker fell off at some point. I did some research and see it was definitely made in the late 1980s. As far as inputs, what we take for granted today was considered very high-end at the time. We have two AV inputs, S-video, and an AV output, along with external speaker terminals. So while Street Fighter runs through S-video, this picture definitely screams Shadow Mask as it has a pretty colorful but softer look to it. According to the database, this set boasted a 450 TVL count based on the advertisements. This would indicate it should have a very sharp picture. Maybe it's just the age coming into play, but I feel like when I see the gameplay, it does look nice, but it doesn't have a super sharp look to it. I was really pleased with how good the geometry looked, and everything through S-video looked nice and vibrant. I felt the composite signal was just decent, but nothing that looked spectacular. I'm sure if I played something 30 years ago, it would be a completely different story. Unfortunately, just due to age, CRTs can't retain their peak look forever. Regardless of some tiredness to the tube, I still think the picture quality is better than most sets I come across. So for final thoughts, I would definitely recommend checking out an older Mitsubishi CRT from the 80s. You can definitely tell this was a quality made model at the time. I would imagine this was probably the type of TV a rich kid would play his NES or his brand new Super Nintendo on. And I think the overall color richness and vibrancy make it a good choice for old school 240p retro gaming. I am still debating whether or not I want to keep this set in my CRT lineup or not. It is a nice piece of vintage electronics history, but I'm starting to run out of space, and because it has a level of tiredness to the tube and lacks component RGB, I'm not sure if I want to actually keep it. I will keep mulling it over for now, but I think I'll eventually sell it off once I play around enough on it. What I usually do is sell off any free sets that I don't think I want to keep long term, then I save up that cash for eventually buying something more higher end and newer. I will say one last thing about this Mitsubishi. This old 80s shadow mask tube still has a lot of life left in it. If my game room was a bit bigger and I wanted to expand on my vintage nostalgia wall, I think it would fit in very nicely there. It's been great watching the channel continue to grow, and I'm always happy to showcase and talk about my CRT pickups to anyone that appreciates retro gaming. I'll keep trying to do my best to keep more and more content coming in the future, and hopefully with a little luck I can get my hands on more high-end sets to do more of these videos on. I am at a point where I have to turn down CRTs if they aren't really easy and convenient for me to pick up, so in the meantime, I'll start showcasing some of my favorite games on my TV collection and try to show how good they can look on the right set. Just to say it one more time, thank you all for your continued support of the channel. I hope for good things to come in the future, and it's been a lot of fun doing the type of videos that I personally have enjoyed for a few years now. Thanks for watching. Until next time.